Hey, hockey fans of all ages, shapes, and sizes. I said I'd come back to this Karlsson contract, and I met him in 2019 with my son in Buffalo. Congrats on the another child as well, too. I guess I feel like you should kiss up a little bit if you're gonna slam somebody for their contract. It's just business, nothing personal. Doing my Sempcast.com plug there. The stats are I think a year out of date, but I picked up guys like Bunting or Svechnikov, etc. In some of the numbers there for goals, assists, or hits, etc. I do kind of like a Moneyball thing. Like I divide the AAV cap in based on what I think the Gluttons for Punishment. I really enjoyed their last podcast. I think it was on Sunday of the long weekend. They were mentioning like value, and I'm a huge believer in value. So, the Leafs are at a crucible, or, I looked up Crucible and I was right. It's kind of a melting point or a flash point where you're creating something new. So I was bang on that one. Anyways, wordsmith. The Sharks are at a similar position right now they went for it. They almost got there. The Leafs are almost there, but they made all these deadline acquisitions for their team to make them better. And without guys like Achari, who had the most hits, Shen with the trash talk to kind of calm the guys down and deflect a lot of that stuff. That guy's awesome. And Ryan O'Reilly with the huge goal in before 1 minute left in the series is 1-1 against Tampa. And then I think they won another one in overtime too. So that series was literally like a minute from potentially losing in the first round again. And then you would blow up the entire team. So I think with that guy, Ryan O'Reilly, not saying he saved the franchise or whatever, but him scoring that goal changed the complexion of that series potentially. So back to San Jose. Karlsson signed for 11.5. I don't think he could see a pandemic coming like any of us, right? So I don't think you blame him. I think he's worth that. Vis-a-vis his Norris, probably going to win the Norris, even though I'm biased because I'm a huge Sharks fan. So he's going to likely win the Norris this year. And no offense to all the other guys on the team. I was talking to Hetty through some DMs and stuff, and he was saying how insane the stats were of Karlsson, and I agree. He was in on 40% of the offense for the Sharks. What? Anyways, I guess, what do you do from a leadership standpoint? I mean, if you're paying a guy that much money, I really like Logan Couture. I think that he's been a great leader through this rebuild. I said to Jumbo's dad, I said, I think it's going to be Logan. I was watching a lot of the, after Pavs was gone, I was watching a lot of the chatter in the forums and stuff, and my gut said it would be Logan. So he's been the captain for 4 years now, 4 years. Anyway, I believe that in order for Karlsson to stay, and I saw JD Locked on Sharks talk about potential trades, and I would be gutted, and I think I'm happy hearing Mike Grier say that, he's worth a lot. We won't entertain anything unless it's absolutely. So it says, hey, there's some loyalty to this critical piece to the organization, which I love. I personally, obviously biased, I think Karlsson could be a Hall of Famer. He will be a Hall of Famer. I think he could have his jersey retired if he ends up staying the rest of his career. For him to have that season of last year, I think he could potentially repeat this year, win the Norris again. I guess Makar is going to be healthy too, so you guys 1 and 2 in my mind. And obviously, another thing I talked to Hetty about was this defensive. I said, what do you think of this? Should there be a defensive Norris. Like, you know, call it I guess you can't call it the Bobby, right? Like maybe you make the Norris defensive, you change it up a little bit. I know it has meaning to everybody from like the best defenseman. So maybe you create a Bobby Orr trophy, which is like the best offensive defenseman just on stats. You know what I mean? Like the Art Ross for points. So yeah, create a Bobby Orr trophy for, you know, the best offensive defenseman. And then you have the Norris for like, you know, guys that like Heiskanen or whatever. Anyway, just a couple more thoughts here. Stevie Lawrence, I was hugely impressed by him at the end of the year. Like I said, I picked off guys like Svechnikov, which I think were good, you know, plumbing pieces for the value. And I look at other guys like Barabanov's coming back, I would assume. And he was a big surprise. I'll toot my own horn here. I actually liked him the second that he came in. His first, when he came in at the end of the season, he got a whole bunch of points after he was traded. And I thought, I like this guy. I put him on my Semcats list a few years ago, right? I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. It's nice to see him coming up. But I guess back to the Karlsson thing. Like, I think that teams, especially the Leafs, and all these things now, when you look at contracts across the board, I think you have to decide as a player, do I want to win or do I want to make money, right? Money doesn't have feelings. Money's immoral. People do a lot for money that is not a, you know, like people's money and stuff. Like when you barter trade, it has a lot of heart and soul into it. And, you know, money or equity, capitalism, that is where players and people and realtors and everything else can make a ton of money, put it into an equity, buy a team, buy part of a team, buy a building, you know, whatever, and you're buying equity at a discount. So I think from a financial advice, obviously agents want to make money. You know, lawyers are freaking expensive. So yeah, like they're going to want every ounce out of their contract that they can get. So like for Sidney Crosby to sign for $8.7 million, right? Like I think when they were a couple of the guys were talking about like how some of these agents build numbers, like, you know, superstition. I like it. Anyway, I think for guys like Tavares, he should sign a hometown discount. So yeah, like if we look back, I think that Dougie Wilson was amazing. He's an amazing human being, first and foremost. I feel like you have to say that nowadays. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, some of the contracts, you know, the Karlsson maybe was they could have signed him for, you know, like a bridge deal, maybe like 6-7 years instead of the 8. I think it was 8 or 7. Anyway, they could have signed him for like 9 or 10, you know, wait for cap to go up. I don't know if that's enough to keep Pavs. LeBanc, I don't think he's playing up to his contract. He had family issues, right? We're all human. He had, you know, I think he's like 4.75 or something, almost 5 mil. And when you look at his contract, it doesn't look too great right now, honestly. But in the time that they were going for these cup runs, they were actually he took a discount and he didn't go for the big money. He wanted to win. So in my eyes, it's like it always comes back to what have you done for me lately. But I think for LeBanc, good on you, man, for those years that you took less than you probably deserved. And I think now the pendulum swung the other way. Your contract may be slightly overvalued. So it all comes out in the wash. But yeah, like if you're a GM, you have to look at every $1.5 million and think of it critically now in this cap era. And I go for value. So yeah, let's say Karlsson signs for 10 mil, you know, or maybe I think Doughty's was around that, maybe 10.5. I don't know. You save $1 million. You can save like a Hurdle's deal, or maybe Couture wants to retire as a Shark. I'd love to see that. He signs a hometown discount potentially at the end of his career. I don't know. Just trying to think of keeping teams together, keeping players together. Last point that was on my mind, just saying all this, is I think that there should be incentives for the postseason. And I think value, like I think Kipper or somebody said this recently, good on him too for kind of really truly calling out Dubas's comments on the family stuff. And now you see like all this stuff circulating now. It's just becoming like a total show, right? Gong show that they're now throwing each other under the bus. Like he said, she said, all this stuff. So in the end, that does no good for anybody. I think Dubas should have, you know, in all, just kept his mouth shut. And then maybe Shanahan feels like he's protecting his reputation now. So, you know, like, oh, I don't want to be known as the guy who's like treating somebody like shit and they're going to have mental health issues because of it, you know? So he goes on full offense, throwing him under the bus. And now the statement, it's just going to go around like a merry-go-round, and it needs to stop. So I guess look at every little piece of value in your contracts, and that's going to come up with, you know, what's Tavares going to do in a couple years? What's Matthews going to do next year? Is he going to re-sign? Is he going to want 15 mil, or is he going to want 12.7? Right? I think these are critical things that if you have these honest conversations right now with your players and you decide, okay, we do a handshake, that's good enough for a lot of business, but just put your cards on the table right now in the summer and then plan it out, knowing that you got Nyes coming up. You got to sign these other guys, hopefully, like Ryan O'Reilly, Achari, Shen, etc. They got Lafferty, I think, for another year, so he's good. But yeah, he got a big goal in the playoffs too. So I don't know. You got futures, and I think a team is more than 4. A team is more than 5. A team is everybody. It's the coaches, it's the GMs, everybody. I think if you want to win, you got to take on a little bit less money, and you have to have an honest conversation with every single person and say everybody's going to take a little bit less money. It's the only way to win, right? So I'll leave it at that, and enjoy the rest of your week.